Hi guys, welcome back. We've got a little shed project today. It's too cold to be out shooting and it's a big old storm just about to roll over. So today we're going to be making a pellet tin pellet trap. Now inside of this little pellet tin here, we have got a putty lining. Now we've used this a lot on the channel recently. It works very well. I'm going to show you some of the targets that I use for zero checking and also look at some of the ways that I zero up my night vision at night in the dark and some of the targets that I use for that. So let's get into it. On decent picatinny mounts, as we've established in previous videos, you can swap between the same rifle with the different scopes and you're usually within a click or two, so they're certainly quite consistent when they return to zero, but of course you will always want to check your zero before going out. This is where these came about, these little mini pellet traps. We could keep them in the rifle bags, they was always to hand, and also if you end up on a new permission you might end up getting there at night. Just to do a zero check before you start taking on any quarry, it's always a good idea to have your own little trap there as opposed to blowing holes in fence posts and stuff. That's a sure way of getting yourself kicked off of permission. So having a miniature pellet trap that you can keep in your pocket in your rifle bag just to check your zeros is a really cool idea. So luckily we've got this tin here. Now this tin is one of the larger pellet tins, so commonly sort of 2-2 pellets. The Crossman Premiers come in these larger tins as well. Now luckily those piranhas from a video or so back were absolute junk, so we're going to empty those out of there quickly. Going to keep them. I'm not going to chuck them away. They probably only fit for the scrap unfortunately, but we will keep those. Eventually we might find a barrel that does shoot them, so right, so one pellet tin. I've also got a little magnet here. This will come in handy. I'm just going to put that out of the way for the moment, so don't let me forget. Oh, they're lively. We'll need that for when we hold our targets into the lid. So what we're going to do now is use some of the plumber's putty, which we've used previously. Now the more I've been using this plumber's putty, the more I've been impressed by its sort of impact absorption. It's very quiet as well, so if you do happen to need to set up a rifle at night, if you're out on the farms on your permissions, this is a lot quieter than lead backstops and even quieter often than into sort of wooden boards. So I'm going to get some of this out. We'll work out how much we need to put into the tin. Now the height of these tins, we should be able to get almost a 3/4 inch thick layer in the bottom there, which from the testing we've done before in the previous videos should be more than enough to adequately stop a pellet without really damaging the back of the tin. Now I would suggest that this is a disposable item. I don't think because of how thin the tins are it's going to last incredibly well, but given that these are effectively a consumable, we get through tons of these over a season, a regular replacement's not a problem. So I'm just warming up the plumber's putty now, and what we're going to do is layer the bottom up in here and aim to get it just below the rim, so we end up with, as I say, about a 3/4 inch thick. I've also got a couple of different cards here, so you can see I've got white card and black card. What I'm going to show you as well, of course the white card with some Sharpie pen crosses on will be what I use for just zero checking in the daytime, but I've got the black card here and I've got some foil tape. Now this isn't actually the foil tape that I normally use, I can't find it, but the foil tape that normally comes on a reel like that is the perfect stuff. Now if you need to set up your night vision in the dark, the foil tape itself will flare up in the infrared or your illuminator, whatever you happen to be using, and you can then make a nice little tape cross on your target and you can then adjust your zero or at least check your zero accordingly. So we'll get to that in a moment, but let's get this filled up first. Worth just checking that lid goes back on there. These little tins are quite flexible. We're fine. Right, let's build that up. I actually put that on the old radiator before we came out here just to soften it up. Where the temperature's as cold as it is, it's a nightmare to work when it gets cold, so I've just pre-warmed it slightly. We used to use these made out of lead or filled with lead. We'd just simply chuck these on the old camping burner and melt down the scraps of lead into them, but then they'd all get burnt up on the outsides and they weigh about 3 times as much as this does. So that's the long and short of it, that's the most of that done. But what I now want to show you is the targets that I use and how I do those. So I'm going to move all this stuff around and we'll start cutting some circles out. Right, interesting, I'm just offering them up and it looks like the inner tape tube there is the perfect size. Let's see if we pop that on the card and just use that as our little circle template. Right, we'll cut that out in a moment. We'll offer it up just to double check it. Obviously if you need to do it with a compass, anything like that, you can always draw around the tin itself, just cutting the inside of your line, whatever you find most convenient. Now what I'm going to do is bring you in a little bit closer and I shall show you what I prefer as a daytime zeroing target. Now of course you'll see me on the channel using pre-made cards with various shaped targets on. That's just for a bit of continuity through filming when we're group testing and things like that. But I'm going to draw out now what I choose to use myself and what I have used historically over the last number of years. So right, given this is going to be used in the daytime, and of course in most cases I won't be using the reticle illuminated in the daylight, I like to use a 20mm circle in red. I'll get a couple of those on there. Now at any sort of traditional sub 12 pest control ranges, you need to be able to keep all your pellets in that sort of red circle. Now of course black reticle over a red circle, you can see that very well, but also what I like to do I like a hollow red X, so again my reticle itself is not then obscuring my aim point. We can offer up the black reticle over the white section and we can make sure that we're not obscuring it. Can see it much better. It seems to work very well for me. It's something that I've been doing for a long time. In fact, we talked about this in a few previous videos. I've actually started drawing up a laser, well, it will be a laser cut template that I'm going to use to actually make sort of circles with missing white sections in the middle. It works really well for me. And then what we're going to do is just put on a couple of 10mm red circles. Again, shooting at the circles, you won't then obscure it with your aim point, so you can be a bit more precise in your aiming. So we can cut that out now. This is where you get to see how cack-handed I really am. Old lefty boy using scissors in his right hand. Ooh. Oh God. It's almost circular. Right. Oh, perfect, look. Now, in most cases, they will stay stuck just to the actual putty itself. But if it doesn't, if you find that the putty's getting a bit worn out, a bit dried out or anything like that, you can actually just use a drawing pin just to hold it on. And that'll mean that you can just swap them over as you need to. So what I'm going to do now is get the black card over and I'll show you what I use for setting up the night visions, or at least zero checking the night visions with the foil tape. Now, we can have as many of those pre-made as you want. And we get the magnet. And that'll keep them all in the lid, and then you can't lose them. They won't blow away when you're out in the field, so it's quite a useful thing to do. Right, let's get that black card over. So the same again with the black card, we're just going to obviously cut out a circle, but what I am going to do is use this. Now this is reflective tape. This is sort of a tinsely type tape. It does actually reflect quite well underneath the illuminators for the night vision, but the foil tape that comes on a reel like this is better still. What we're going to do is cut out some little strips of this, and then we're going to lay them out on here in little crosses, and then we'll probably do a couple of circles as well, much the same as this but with the foil tape. What we'll actually do is a few little squares, a bit easier to cut out. Don't know if you notice on film there, it's getting darker and darker. The brightness is struggling to keep up. There's another storm rolling over. So basically since October, every weekend there's been a storm rolling over. It's been ridiculous. It's super cold out there. Now we've got storms every week. So again, this is tape, so we can peel the back off. We'll stick them on the card and then we'll cut the circle out afterwards. We're an arts and crafts channel now, guys. Pop that on there as my template. And the black card, you can see a pencil, usually alright. Hopefully you can see there that, just under the camera, that it's nice and shiny. And that'll flare up beautifully under your illuminator. Not so much as to dazzle you or give you arc eye. Works really well. Right, same again, I've cut that just so it sits just inside the edge there. Not particularly neatly cut out, but the best I can do as a lefty. Right, that's that done. Let's just move you around again. Well, there we go then, guys, it's all together. So, large pellet tin, commonly a 2-2 pellet tin, or the Crossman screw top ones are the best ones. We've got a night vision target there, so we can zero up under pitch black just with our illuminator. We've got a couple then daytime targets in the lid, just held in with a little magnet, so we can swap them around as we need to. They won't blow away. We've got nearly 20 millimeters, so just over 3/4 inch thick putty in the back there. Now that will stop pretty much anything at sub 12, even at really short ranges. Again, it probably will get bashed up eventually, but again, we get tons of these through a season, so it's no real problem just to chop and change as you need to. I've done a couple of videos already on the plumber's putty. I've lined out a few pellet traps with it now. It's really good gear. The harder it gets hit, the harder it reacts as well. So it's going to collect all of your pellets. It's going to be super quiet. This can just be kept in your pocket, in your rifle bag, when you're out at night, if you just need to zero check something, or if you happen to have a particular area that if you're shooting from a hide, for instance, and there's a particular area you need to just range it, you can pace it out, pop your little target out just to confirm your aim points. So it's a really decent bit of kit, made out of effectively scraps. Couple of quid's worth of plumber's putty and away you go. So that'll do it for this one, guys. It's so cold out there at the moment, it's really windy as well, so as soon as we do get a break in the weather, we can get back to some more exciting stuff. But nice little bit of kit, didn't take long to make at all, and of course you can tailor all the targets to what suits you. I prefer just nice simple targets. They don't take much time to make at all, but if you have a preference to a target type or anything like that, of course you can make all your own. So completely customizable, but the concept is sound and they work really well. So I'll see you in the next one.